How's it going, everybody? Today's video is the digital Panopticon, legal monitoring of network topologies. Now, digital Panopticon, used metaphorically here, refers to a widespread use of video cameras, digital data collection, and online tracking, where people's activities are constantly monitored and stored, often without their explicit knowledge. In terms of social control, like Bentham's original concept, modern surveillance technologies aims to influence behavior through the possibility of being watched, leading to a normalized form of self-discipline and conformity, or in the hands of their sinister weaponized artificial intelligence and software to drive someone to insanity in an attempt to substantiate a previously disclosed statement despite the documents and statements themselves being intrinsically false and loaded with ulterior motives. The stars decree, and the covenant demands. In whispers we govern, through the elements we obscure. In static we command, in nightmares we pursue. We are earth and air, we are fire and water. We are the remembered, we are the returned. We are the whispers, in silence we thrive. With governing the grid, a legal analysis of network topology, we have moon square Jupiter. An interpretation of this is going to be applied through legal monitoring of a network topology through astrological symbolism, which is going to be used as an allegory to highlight potential strengths, conflicts, and challenges in this professional scenario. Now, the components here are going to be Mars, which is action and conflict. In this context, Mars represents the proactive, sometimes aggressive drive behind the monitoring. This includes the energy to set up a robust surveillance system, the speed of a response to a network incident, and the points of friction and conflict that arise, such as network attacks or internal disagreements. Jupiter here is going to represent expansion and law. Jupiter symbolizes the broad legal and ethical framework governing the monitoring, the large-scale network itself, and potential for expansion and overreach. Jupiter's influence can bring in legal disputes or, if properly channeled, a broad sense of philosophical justice to the work. With the squaring aspect, this is going to be friction and tension. This challenging aspect indicates a constant friction between the aggressive action of Mars and the expansive legal nature of Jupiter. This tension does not destroy the project, but creates a difficult dynamic energy that must be carefully managed to avoid explosive results. It signifies a crisis in action where one must learn to balance competing forces. Now, the sixth house here is going to be daily work and service. The sixth house is going to be anchoring this aspect to the practical everyday work of network maintenance and monitoring. It represents the specific detailed logs, the service provided to the company or the client, and routine tasks necessary to keep the network healthy and legally compliant. With potential challenges and pitfalls, we're going to have legal overreach here. Now, a major risk that is the monitoring team, which is Mars action, may, with the enthusiastic but overconfident energy of Jupiter, expand surveillance beyond what is legally or ethically permissible. This could include collecting data or personal activities or devices, leading to serious legal repercussions and a privacy lawsuit. The sixth house legal disputes. Overextension and burnout is going to combine Mars' high energy and Jupiter's tendency towards excess, causing the IT or security team to overwork themselves. In their zeal to secure the network, they may take on too many projects, ignore established protocols, or burn themselves out trying to do too much at once. With workplace conflict, the assertive energy of Mars is going to be clashing with the authority of Jupiter, which creates internal friction. An IT security manager, being Mars, might clash with legal counsel or upper management, which is Jupiter. Over the extent of ethics and monitoring systems, this can lead to departmental conflicts that undermine the project's success. We've got impulsive action under pressure. During a crisis, such as a security breach, the team may act impulsively without considering all the legal ramifications. This is going to be the Mars squaring Jupiter. This act first, think later approach could result in violating a user's rights or mishandling evidence in a way that compromises a potential legal case. With strategic management and opportunities, we can formalize protocols challenging the nature of the squares to necessitate clear, detailed protocols to guide action, Regular meetings between IT management and legal teams integrating the 6th house and Jupiter here is going to be held to formalize what can and cannot be monitored and to set specific legally sound procedures. With risk assessment and auditing, the potential for excessive action or hidden issues suggests that the need for robust risk assessments and regular third-party audits would provide an unbiased review of the monitoring systems, ensuring it remains with legal, ethical boundaries and mitigating the blind spots indicated by the friction of the square. Now, channeling the energy constructively, rather than letting Mars-Jupiter square become a source of conflict, its powerful energy can be channeled into a grand vision for cybersecurity excellence. This could involve becoming an industry leader in ethical network monitoring practices, using the passionate drive to innovate and set new standards for the entire field itself. With ongoing training due to the risks of overreach and impulsive behavior, continuous training for IT and legal teams is essential. Now, training should focus on the specifics of privacy law and ethical data handling, ensuring that the team's expansive enthusiasm is directed constructively towards the routine work in the 6th house of maintaining a legally compliant system. Through governing the grid, a legal analysis of network topology, Mars squaring Pluto here is going to use the intensity of the astrological aspects as an allegory for potential power struggles, destructive urges, and transformative pressures within a professional setting. The 10th house here specifically places these themes in the context of career, reputation, authority, and public image. With the components astrologically here, we have Mars as action and conflict, representing the assertive, proactive, and sometimes aggressive nature of the network security. It symbolizes the rapid, decisive action taken to defend against threats, as well as the internal conflicts that can arise. Pluto here is going to be power and transformation, signifying a deep psychological urge for power and control. Pluto governs the unconscious, hidden aspects and forces of transformation through destruction and rebirth. It suggests a profound and relentless force driving the monitoring efforts. The square aspect is going to be friction and tension. Now, a Mars-Pluto square generates intense and often suppressed anger and conflict. It represents a constant power struggle between desire and direct action, which is Mars. The compulsive need for control, Pluto, creating a significant tension and a warlike atmosphere. The 10th house here, career and public image. This house places the entire dynamic in the realm of professional reputation and authority and public scrutiny. This means that the conflicts and intense drives of the Mars-Pluto square play out on the professional stage with consequences for one's career and organization's reputation on the line and at stake. With the power struggles and control issues here, we got internal conflict over control. The network security team, Mars, may be in a constant power struggle with management, legal or other departments. Pluto in the 10th house, over control of the monitoring process. The IT team may desire swift, decisive action, while management insists on legalistic, controlled or methodical approaches. With destructive internal politics, the friction can turn destructive. Competition, jealousy, and compulsive need for control, being Pluto, within the team or organization can undermine the monitoring efforts. Key personnel may be forced out, or their work may be sabotaged as a result of deep-seated resentments and power dynamics. With reputations at risk, the potential for shadow side, Pluto, to become public is a very real thing right now. If the monitoring efforts perceived as overly controlling, unethical, or illegal, a public relations scandal could very well erupt. This is damaging to any company's reputation and possibly career ending. With this, I heard Drake's 6-Man. I'm on it. I'm like MacGyver. I'm Michael Myers. I kill careers and shut the lights off. The shit is frightening. I knew it would end up like this. I'm fucking psychic. That popped out at the end of that statement there. We got strategic intensity and transformation. With ambitious, forceful strategies, the energy is channeled. When it's channeled correctly, it can result in a deeply ambitious and forceful security strategy. The team might be relentlessly driven to uncover hidden vulnerabilities and root out any threats. Now, no matter how deeply buried, this is a strategic mindset focused on profound transformation, not just maintenance. The high-stakes investigations here are going to have Mars-Pluto intensity manifesting as high-stakes legal monitoring and forensic investigations. The team may be drawn to working on deep, secretive issues, uncovering serious compromises or criminal activity within the network or on the network. With professional transformation, this intense pressure can force a complete overhaul of the IT and legal departments, basically clearing house and starting over. The destructive side of Pluto can tear down inefficient or corrupt systems, clearing the way for a more powerful and effective monitoring strategy. Now, individuals involved may also experience profound career transformations, including overcoming career setbacks to emerge as a powerful leader. We're going to be managing the energy of the Mars square Pluto by confronting the shadow. The organization must confront the hidden power dynamics and toxic internal politics that the aspects allegorically here represent. That is a euphemism. Apply it where need. Openly addressing internal conflicts and creating clear, non-negotiable ethical guidelines for monitoring can help prevent destructive behavior. We are going to be redefining power here now. The company must define what power and control means within the monitoring project, instead of power over Pluto at its worst. The goal should be power with or power to, creating a truly empowered team that uses its intensive skills for the greater good of the organization and its reputation, rather than strong-arm destructive forces detrimental to the entirety of the structure itself. We're going to be implementing a robust legal framework. The intense, sometimes obsessive action of Mars must be controlled. This is going to create a strong and clear legal framework where legal regular audits of the monitoring processes are essential to ensure the team does not cross legal or ethical boundaries in the zealous pursuit of security. We're going to embrace transformation. Instead of resisting the intensity, see it as a call for fundamental change. This is not about tweaking the existing system, but about a complete rebirth of how security and legal compliances are handled within your organization altogether. Now, keep in the network house a legal blueprint here with Mars opposition Chiron, using the archetypes to explore the deep tensions between asserting authority and confronting deep-seated vulnerabilities in a potential context. Now, the astrological components here in this scenario are going to be Mars as action and conflict, obviously. Mars representing the assertive, often aggressive action taken to enforce and protect network security. In this context, it is the active everyday monitoring in response to incidents, where Chiron, the wounded healer, Chiron represented a core wound or vulnerability, often stemming from early experiences or powerlessness or rejection. Now, in a network security context, this can point to a fundamental, possibly unfixable systemic flaw or a deeply sensitive ethical point. The opposition aspect is going to be awareness, and very aware is going to be the understatement of the century there, and tension. The opposition creates a tug-of-war between the active principle of Mars and the vulnerable points of Chiron. It forces an awareness of fundamental paradox in taking action. One confronts the very wound that makes the action necessary. With the 6th house, we got daily work and service. Now, the daily house here places the conflict in the domain of daily routine, health, and service. It relates directly to the nitty-gritty regular tasks of monitoring the network and the legal obligations tied to it. The core wound and its challenges here with the Mars-Chiron opposition, the 6th house is suggesting that the very act of monitoring, the Mars in the 6th house brings a legal or ethical wound, Chiron, to the forefront. This can manifest in several ways. A vulnerable system. Now, the network itself, though monitored, may have fundamental design flaw or inherent vulnerability, Chiron. The monitoring efforts of Mars constantly reveal this problem, but cannot fundamentally fix it, creating a cycle of frustration and reactive action. The ethical discomfort here may be a painful, unresolved tension around the ethical implications of the monitoring itself. The IT team may feel they must act assertively to monitor employees, customers, or people monitoring other people. But this action conflicts with a deeper-seated wound or insecurity about privacy here with Chiron, which is an inherent right of every human being. Healing through this service, the potential for healing arises, but transforming the network's wound into a source of wisdom. The team could become experts not just in monitoring, but in building systems that respect privacy and legal boundaries from the ground up. This is going to be turning a systemic weakness into a source of unique ethical knowledge. The manifestations in a work environment here would be constant conflicts. The work environment might be defined by ongoing friction between the security team and other departments, such as legal or HR. Now, the security team's divisive action as Mars may be seen as overstepping ethical or legal boundaries, triggering conflicts that stem from deep institutional wounds. Now, the wounded healer here in air quotes, emphasis, and when I do that, that means that's emphasized, or I'm speaking ironically or layered. The dynamic here is going to be individuals on the security team might embody this wounded healer archetype, using their personal pain related to past cyber attacks or privacy violations to drive their work. They are effective at protecting the network, but their actions are driven by a deep, unresolved internal issue, a focus on perfectionism. Now, the sixth house influence can drive an obsession with perfectionism and detail to compensate for the inherent wound. The team may pour tremendous energy into perfect monitoring logs and procedures, but this work is constantly undermined by the deeper systemic flaw represented by Chiron. Navigating this opposition, the key here to managing this dynamic is going to be to address the underlying vulnerability rather than reacting to its symptoms. Now, we're going to reframe the conflict. The organization must see the tension not as a destructive force, but as an opportunity for growth and learning. We can all learn together as long as we're ascending and not digressing. Instead of silencing dissenting opinions, they should be used to uncover and address the root cause wounds. The conscious action, the IT team needs to be conscious of its motivations. Are they acting from a place of assertiveness and logic, being Mars, or reacting from a place of insecurity and a past pain, Chiron? Taking action in line with ethical principles will be key here. Key here. Embrace healing and transformation is going to lead to a path of resolution, where it's not to fix the wound entirely, but to accept it and use the pain as a source of deep empathy and wisdom. This can lead to a more compassionate, balanced, and ultimately more effective approach to network security that respects both security and privacy. Now, legal and financial remedies here. When rights are violated through network monitoring, the affected parties can pursue several legal and financial remedies, given the companies continue to play hardball and undermine the receipts, potential evidence stacked against them, and leave offers of negotiations unanswered. This leaves the future chance of out-of-court settlements sometimes taken right off the window, thrown right out and off the table it goes. Class action lawsuits is going to be one route for if it's a group of people. But data breaches and privacy violations often affects a large number of people, leading to multi-plaintiff or class action lawsuits. Recent settlements have resulted in significant payouts for affected individuals. As just a single affected individual, you can seek monetary damages. Compensation for privacy violations include actual damages, which is reimbursements for demonstrable financial harm. That's significant loss of jobs, identity theft issues, real estate loans that don't belong somewhere that they, magically appear, personal loans that are somewhere that, magically appear that don't belong, financial account information being misappropriated, stuff of that nature. Now, for this, such as, again, identity theft costs, therapy, emotional distress, credit monitoring services. You have statutory damages in some cases, especially if they become federal and they are of a significant high-profile nature. Laws allow for a set amount of compensation for each violation, which can add up to millions on millions for some. With civil penalties here, many consumer protection laws include civil penalties for violations, which can significantly increase the financial liability for the company, group of people involved, or collective. We'll refer to some entities as. Now, regulatory fines, government agencies like the Federal Trade Commission in the U.S. and data protection authorities in Europe under GDPR, which get involved when people like to use geofences and VPNs and proxy servers to bounce out of the states to hide and mask their current IP address, even though all that stuff is actually traceable if you have a better hacker than somebody that's currently running this network for the people. So if somebody were to theoretically find somebody that's better at this stuff than the person launching the attacks, it would be rather easy to track down the whole network, duplicate their server and their data, and then turn it over to the authorities, or drive a cavalry directly to the server by generating carbon footprints that would indirectly, raise a flag without raising a flag. Now, non-monetary relief here, in addition to financial compensation, legal settlements may require a company to implement new data security measures, provide free credit monitoring to affected individuals, or to improve its corporate governance. Now, we got Mars sitting in Libra right now, and the dynamics of Mars and Libra in this context is going to be a pursuit of balanced action, a due process, which when violated creates even more problems, and when you have other people tied into that, lacking due process can really drive up legal ramifications, especially when receipts are available and obvious. Especially if abuse of power is involved. It's a whole messy situation. I'm just speaking metaphorically, of course. The approach here is going to be Mars and Libra, suggesting an approach to network security that emphasizes fairness and legal precision. The monitoring, not aggressive or impulsive, but following a structured, well-thought-out process. This includes establishing clear policies, ensuring legal consent, emphasizing legal consent, not fraudulent documents, forgery of people's signatures, and misappropriated medical backgrounds, which are fraudulent to begin with, but anything of that nature. Legal consent directly from the people involved, and having well-defined triggers for action. Strategic, not forceful defense. The IT security teams with this placement would be more motivated by strategy and equality rather than brute force. Some prefer brute force and strong arming. Other people would prefer to play dumb and intellectually create and devise a strategy in which would checkmate the entire process itself, patiently waiting for negotiations. Now, instead of simply blocking or isolating a threat, they're going to likely analyze it to understand its motivations and develop a response that addresses the core issue while minimizing collateral damage to the network or user experience. With legal and ethical compliances here, Libra is the sign of justice. So the action of Mars would be deeply intertwined with legal and ethical standards. This is going to manifest as strict adherence to privacy regulations, clear communication about monitoring practices, and a strong commitment to transparency, as seen in the policies of some major corporations. Whereas some corporations might be hell-bent on exploitation, blackmail, committing fraud, and exposure, that can actually be reversed and used against them in the same exact manner that they weaponized it and illegally used it on other people. With conflict resolution and negotiation, diplomatic problem solving here, when a security incident occurs, the team would be more likely to engage in collaborative problem solving rather than confrontational blame casting. He over there did it, it's like Mr. Meeseeks from Rick and Morty. Hey, look at me, I'm Mr. Meeseeks. What a distraction that would be. The focus would be on identifying a solution that satisfies both security requirements and user privacy concerns. making the other parties feel seen and valued, since external validation is the goal with the, again, Mr. Meeseeks reference there. Look at me, Mr. Meeseeks. I'm so great and perfect. I'm awesome. I'm better than everybody else. We need to make those people feel seen and valued, rather than run over by a metaphorical truck, which is probably, yeah. Anyways, handling disruption through arbitration. Now, if legal disputes or disagreements arise over monitoring practice, the Mars and Libra approach would favor mediation and arbitration to resolve the conflict rather than immediate escalation. The goal is to keep the peace while still asserting the security team's needs. And keep the peace can be seen as an attempt to convey a message without conveying a message, granting the opportunity to rectify a situation before going for its ladder and things hyper-escalate and it becomes a public ordeal, and it's, well, that rock might have already went downhill. You know, patience wears thin in legal issues. We've got strategic alliances here. Now, this interpretation is going to suggest a strong focus on partnerships and collaborations, legal collaborations, and strategic ethical networks, not groups of people targeting other people and communities, strong-arming them to do their bidding for them or else, and coercing people into doing things they don't want to do, and then pushing them into a situation where, you know, bad things can happen. Now, the security team might work closely with legal counsel, human resources, and even third-party security firms to ensure all monitoring activities are ethically sound and legally defensible is going to be the key here. Potential challenges here, though, are going to be indecisiveness. Again, the waiting, pretending everything's all calm, cool, and copacetic, you know, playing the long game instead of doing the right thing. The Mars in Libra is going to be the detriment here. Indecisiveness and prolonging the situation is the detriment. Meaning the planet's assertive energy is not naturally expressed. This is going to lead to an indecision or delay in taking action as the team struggles to weigh all sides of an issue before making a move. Now, for network security, this could be critical weaknesses, as threats often require swift responses rather than just trying to play hardball. Suppressing anger for harmony. Now, this is going to be the desire to maintain harmony, leading to anger and frustration to percolate under the surface, if you will. Rather than being directly addressed, this could lead to a sudden emotional eruption if a legal or scrutiny issue becomes particularly contentious, especially if it compromises deeply held principles of justice and fairness. Now, vulnerabilities to manipulation here, and some thrive on manipulation. Can't imagine living like that and subjecting large groups of people to that and then hiding behind God. That's crazy. Anyways, the focus here is going to be on collaboration and fairness. This can make a security team vulnerable to manipulation by internal or external actors who exploit their desire for peace to gain an advantage. The team here must be strategically assertive to avoid being taken advantage of. This is where we apply things in layers and convey things peacefully before we go to ladder and things get escalated on the next level and then becomes a public legal case, and well, that's detrimental all the way around. So hopefully that doesn't apply to anybody, but you know, that's my analytical interpretation of today's planetary aspects. Hopefully you found it entertaining. I'll see you in the next one.